We're continuing on Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim, Hilchot Shabbat, and we are on Daf Nun Dalet Amud Bet, the regular prints of your Mishna Beruras, on Seif Bet. Maran writes, V'davka echad, we have been speaking about not using a candle on Shabbat for reading because you may get too involved in the learning and not notice as you move and tilt the candle. So therefore Maran writes that's only when one person is learning the Or Hanir. But if two people are reading together, then each one of them is going to subconsciously watch the other person and not let them make the mistake of tilting the lamp. So therefore it would be mutar aval shnaim korim beyachad, they could read together. Sheim ba echad la'atod, if one of them reaches for the lamp, for the candle, the other one is going to remind him. Yazkirenu chavero vehu shkorin beinyan echad she'az yashgiach ha'echad b'ma she'aseh chavero. We're talking about the case that both of them are reading the same thing from the same book, but if each one of them is doing his own thing, le'or haner, in the light of the candle, so then they're not focused on the other person, and they're not going to come to remind. They both could forget. Aval b'shnei inyanim, if they're reading two different things, they're busy with different things, then it's not considered a watch, so to speak. They're not watching each other, and it's not going to be sufficient. V'yesh omrim, the b'shnei sfarim afilu b'inyan echad asur. There are those who say, even if you're reading, says the Rama, even if you're reading the same Gemara, but you have each one a copy of your own, even though you're learning b'chavruta, but you're each looking in your own copy, in your own Gemara, that's not good. You mamash have to be reading from the same book, from the same Gemara, then it's going to be allowed. V'lachen asur lomar, piutim belel yom tov shchal liyot b'shabbat, bebet hakneset, the piutim that they used to say on Leil Shabbat in Bet Knesset, you can't say le'or haner, because again, it's not going to be fitting the criterias that we just mentioned. Right, that Mishna Berura says even according to those who are lenient in Seif Aleph for ner shava, for a wax candle, that would be mutar. In Bet Knesset is shchichi rabim. There are a lot of people in Bet Knesset. V'yesh la'achmir b'chol gavna shelo lomar ha'piyutim mishum lo pdug. We don't want to differentiate. Even for a wax candle would be asur. Delifamim yeh nerot shemen ve'ikach hashash yisur shemayateh. Sometimes you will have ner of shemen, oil candles, and then you will be in transgression of this. Now, this used to be a thing that people used to go say piyutim and Leil Shabbat. Chacham Obadia, he once said in a shiur that he was younger, so it came as a surprise that when he was younger, they used to go, he'll say where, I happen to know, it was by the Shar Morcha Sharabi's minyan. He used to go 2 o'clock a.m. Friday night to say bakashot with the tzibur, singing together, and they would be there until 7 a.m. That's 5 hours of bakashot every Friday night. It says during the week, as we're learning, the music, the tunes will be ringing in our ears. He felt that every Jew should have a connection with Shira v'Zimra, with singing Bocher v'Shirei Zimra, something important that has been maybe not focused on as much, but nevertheless, this is something you see from the Ramah that they used to do it in the time past, even in the Ashkenazi communities as well. So it says the Shulchan Aruch, Im yesh acher imo, afilu eno koreh, Seif Gimel, if you have somebody else with you, even though that he's not reading, now you're reading, he's with you, but he's not reading, ve'omer lo ten datcha alai shlo ateh, and you say, please watch me. You ask him to sit there and watch you, not to make sure you don't come to make a mistake. Then you have a person on watch, and that would be fine. Mutar. That could be even your wife, to have an eye to make sure her husband does not come to tilt the candle, that would be sufficient as well. Now, if you don't tell him, the guy just happens to be with you in the room, that's not sufficient. You have to actually appoint them to be your guard, so to speak, to watch you, to make sure you don't tilt, because stama, if just other people happen to be in the room, even if there's more than one person, we are concerned that they're not going to paying attention to him. He's just reading on a corner for himself, and no one really is paying attention to what he does or what he doesn't do, and therefore it will become a problem. Now, the wife also, we don't say that because she is his wife, she's just going to trust him and not really have a watching eye. We do trust that she's going to be on top of it and guard him from doing hataya, from doing a isur, so therefore it will be sufficient. Adam chashuv she'en darko bechol le'atot mutar bechol gavna. Says the Shulchan Aruch in Seif Dalit, you have in the time of Chazal even, important people would not ever tilt the candle. They always would have proper lighting, and they would never, this is not a thing that they would do. Therefore, says the Shulchan Aruch, for them, it's going to be okay in any case, and would be not a problem. Now, Mishna Berura explains, "Shebaruru she'en darko af be'et limud aval mistama lo amrinan ken." This is a person that is clear he's not going to touch the candle because he never does, even when he's learning, and therefore we're not concerned that now Punt and Shabbat is going to do it for the first time in his life. Yeah, so that would not be, again, you don't want people to learn from him, but the Gemara is muchach actually that some of the important people also would tilt the candle. The case of Rabbi Ishmael, the Gemara brings that we spoke about, that he said it's not going to happen to me, and it happened to him. Is he used to tilt the lamp on weekdays. So not every Adam Chashuv is like this, but a person that has that type of stature, that during the weekdays he never touches the lamp, he never tilts the lamp, on Shabbat also is not necessarily going to do it, and therefore it's going to be mutar. Now, says the Shulchan Aruch in Seif Hey, "B'medura afilu asara ke'echad en korin." If you have a medura, if you have a bonfire, right, you're sitting around the fire, so to speak, there's a big fire. Even if you're 10 people sitting there, you still are not going to read from that. Mishum de'oil v'yoshavim rechokim ze mizeh. Because they're sitting far from each other around the fireplace, they're not stuck together, then you're not going to be reminding each other for this. Ve'od, and addition to that is another reason, that shiznavot ha'urim smuchim lahem. The woods that are burning in the center, the tail end of them is right next to you. It's very easy to move them and to be mehateh, and that's a problem. The next guy does not necessarily notice if you, on your side, touch the other end of one of the woods that are burning in the middle, and you could cause it to go more on the flame or be mehateh, to stoke the fire, and that would be, of course, a problem. So, therefore, by bonfire we don't allow it. This actually happens to sometimes be very relevant, because those who go in camping, or the schools who go for a Shabbaton, for Chanukah or whatnot, to upper areas in the mountain, and they have a Shabbaton, if you have a bonfire made, usually they do the Motzei Shabbat, but if you have a bonfire made right before Shabbat, and they daven mincha arvit, so to speak, around it, and then they have some singing going on before the meal or whatnot, then you actually have this. You can have a songbook, one of these Zemirot books that people have, or printed out songs list that they have from NCSY or whatnot, You can't have that and be looking at it le'or haner. That would be this very case over here that the Shulchan Aruch would be concerned about. So says the Shulchan Aruch, Tinokot shel bet Rabban kori le'or haner. The schools back in the day were not off on Shabbat. You had school 7 days a week, right? The only time that they were off was Tisha B'Av and Erev Yom Kippur, right? It's the only 2 days that you had. We took the learning Torah of the children extremely serious, because the future of Am Yisrael is to learn. Is to learn from early morning until the afternoon. You wonder how they mastered the Tanakh by age 10, and mastered the entire Mishnah by Baal Peh by the age 15. That's how it happened, because they actually were at it for the whole day, right? So, a lot of stories about this, not for now, but the Shabbat was a day of learning. You go Suda, and they would come to learn afterwards, right? So it was Friday night would not be necessarily an exception. They would learn. So Tinokot Shevet Rabban says the Shulchan Aruch, they could learn le'or haner. You could have lights and they could learn, no problem, because they have the Rebbe overseeing the whole learning, and they are so afraid of the Rebbe that they're mindful every second. They will never make a mistake to reach for the candle, because they should have a awe and respect of highest level for the Rebbe. Tells you how the system worked back in the day. That there was a real reverence of teacher of the Rebbe in a positive, healthy way. And therefore we're not concerned about it. Says the Shulchan Aruch Seif Zayin, mutar likrot b'memadlikin le'or haner. But the Mishnah b'memadlikin you could read in the shul Friday night, even le'or haner. Why? Because sheharehu mazkir isur Shabbat ve'ech yishkach. You're learning about this very thing of candles that you can or can't do because of coming to tilt. So of course when you're learning about this very halakha, you're not going to forget about it, and that would be fine. Halakha chet says Shulchan Aruch, nohagim likrot b'leil Yom Kippur b'machzorim mipnei she'emad Yom Kippurim aleihem. You have in a specific heter on Leil Yom Kippur to use the machzorim, even though that's not something that you know by heart. Tefillah of Yom Kippur is a different specific tefillah, because people are so afraid of Yom Kippur, are so intensely focused on the Yirat Shamayim that is needed for the atmosphere of Yom Kippur, that we're not concerned that they're going to come to touch the candle. They're very much mindful on the day of Yom Kippur. Leil Pesach shchal liot b'Shabbat, says Maran in Seif Tet, a Friday night that happens to also be the night of Pesach, mutar likro Haggadah beSefer mishum deve ke'en Rashi Prakim. You could read Haggadah because that's like Rashi Prakim, the Ein Ha'aretz shelo te'eh shkura bepiv. Even the ignorant people, even the regular laymen, they know Haggadah by heart, right? Haggadah is something that you have sang and you have said and excitingly reviewed from childhood already, year after year. So that's hopefully something that people are familiar enough with it that it would not be something you have to pay attention to bring the candlelight. You see the beginning of every line, and you know already the rhyme. You don't have to pay too much attention to be concerned that you're going to tilt the candle. So therefore that would be fine as well. We're up to see if you right now, B'ezrat Hashem, we will continue this in the days to come. Brandon.